Hello.
Welcome, Kanan.
Thank you.
I want to ask about what's your background, what's your profession at this moment, and I have a few more questions.
Of course, I'm very happy to be here. In terms of my background, well, let's start with my titles. So currently I'm a researcher at the Hague University in the Netherlands, and also I have been a coordinator of the Center for Law, Design and AI at Erasmus and TU Delft. I'm also a consultant on the issues at the intersection of law and technology. I have been a co-founder of several legal tech, legal design ventures, and currently I'm looking at law tunes, continuing that work. So that is my third title. And the fourth title, or the fifth I think in the list, if I forgot the count, is that I'm starting a venture fund on supporting legal tech startups. So yes, so these are the kind of things that I do. And yeah, that is what I think gives a little bit of an idea of my profession.
Not to ask, yeah.
Yes.
So the thing is that you mentioned a lot of law. You studied law. Then I want to ask about your educational background. What did you study? How did we come up to Hague in Park today?
I know it's a long story. Of course. So since being a child, I wanted to become a lawyer. I was very clear because I saw that a lot of lawyers were very impactful on the society. They were making a change. Their voices were also heard because they could articulate in the way it was relevant for policy making. So yeah, I was very clear I wanted to be a lawyer.
But when you were a child, was there something that you wanted to change? Was there an issue that you wanted to make it different?
So I have been a very big admirer of fairness. So fairness in any negotiation, fairness also in the society, and I always felt that if I want to, correct issues in terms of how opportunities are given to people, or how certain conversations put one person at a little more disadvantage than advantage. So how can you have fairness more in the society? So I was very big. I'm still very much, in that mindset. So hopefully I'm in the right profession still. But yeah, so my father was very clear, if you want to do law, go to a good place and you work hard for it. So I was lucky enough to go to the London School of Economics and I became a lawyer. But at the time I was very clear about arguing the law, not being just behind a screen and writing contracts, because I was talking to a lot of my seniors at the time and I saw their lifestyle. They would start very early. Working hard is not a problem, but what they ended up doing was just looking at screen, photocopying, reading, due diligence. It was the cumbersome work. I attended some open days of big law firms, general counsels. I realized I'm not sure if I'll be able to do this, with a joy and with a excitement. So I ended up going for a management consulting project. So I worked with McKinsey and Company's project in London for some time. Then long story short, I can go on for hours on this, but I'll just quickly show the points. Yes?
So maybe I articulate on this that you knew what you want and you knew what you don't want.
Yeah, you're right. So nice of you to say it like this. I have to say, when you say this, it reminds me that I was a little disappointed that is this how you will change things? Is this how you will do something impactful? I was also wondering about the joy in the lives of people who were doing a lot of screen work, because actual law is people. So after that McKinsey project, I learned a lot from it. I decided to go back to India and I was lucky enough to go to a policy organization because I wanted to see what they do in policy bodies, and again it was a very high level national government organization.
When you are in that kind of position, is it something like a broad policy? Is there a specific branch of policy making in law, in governmental level?
So that time I was part of a think tank or a research organization within the Planning Commission, which was part of the Prime Minister office at the time.
It's about a nation's future and what to do next.
And this was about just knowledge. So it was called the National Knowledge Commission. And I was looking at how knowledge is created, preserved and propagated. So looking at libraries, for example, looking at legal education, looking at traditional education, higher education in general also. So education was our focus. And working with a lot of bureaucrats, a lot of policymakers. And as a lawyer, I realized that, wow, we were talking about a lot of policy drafting, legislative drafting. I used to feel very excited because, of course, not only I was able to travel across the country from big cities to smallest of the villages and see the diversity, and I felt, wow, how can we create a law and a policy that is applicable to everyone in such a diverse country? I was excited decided that, my role as a lawyer was calling me out at the time, and I felt maybe I need to see in a court how law is practiced. So I joined a high court. I started to practice, and at the time I was assisting a senior lawyer. And he would give me all kinds of cases, motor vehicle cases, criminal cases, contractual cases. And that was a big exposure also, standing in front of a judge and arguing. And I was first case I took, I was so responsible feeling that somebody's life was at stake. And I wanted to do this, like I wish there were hundreds of me, because you could do more of me, this work.
A lot of things to do.
There was a lot of scale needed, because many cases, many people needed representation. So I felt, how can I create something at scale? How can I change again at the larger scale? And that's when the entrepreneurial idea came. And I started my first organization, and cut to a chase, 3 total organizations I created. I led many communities on legal tech internationally. And one of that ventures, and I'm very happy to talk about all of them in detail, but because you asked how I came to The Hague, one of that ventures was funded by a Hague-based organization. And eventually they hired me to do investing in other similar companies. So it was like a dream come true, because then I was on the other side of the table. So you see how from management consulting to policy to practicing law to entrepreneurship to consulting with organizations even then, to starting legal tech communities, to really investing now. So that is how I came to The Hague, and I started to work here, and also academia.
Yeah. I see. I understand that path was also that appeared when you were walking in the way. But I want to understand how much do you think, like if you could guess a number, a percentage, how percentage was planned by you? Like, was this something that you meet people and it happened? Because sometimes people say that, oh, I didn't plan it and it happened. And sometimes people say, I really try to structure and strategize. For your case, what do you think it was the percentage?
There's a very nice saying that I heard, that don't think about what you want to be, think about what you want to do. So to answer your question, I knew what I wanted to do, become a lawyer, help people. But what I wanted to be, nothing was planned. And it kind of started to make way. I started to learn, started to make mistakes, started to also know what I was good at, what I was liking. There is also that Ikigai concept, right? You have to do what also is needed, what makes you money, what makes you happy. So I think we are all in the search of our own Ikigai, and I am also. But for me, I think doing multiple things at the same time gives me different happiness. And I think the world that we are going towards is going to need this, that if you are in one profession all your life, people, you might want to try more things, and people might ask you to do more things. Maybe the revenue levels will be such that you have to do more things. So
I want to understand something that about currently you are doing many things at the same time. Is there something that you are more interested in more than the other things? When we meet, we had a conversation about mindfulness, and you were doing things outside of. You are not a regular lawyer, so I want to understand: is there something that you are doing other than your current activities, that addition to mindfulness, or why did you try to get into this?
I think regular practice of self-reflection is very necessary. This happened when I was an entrepreneur, and not, and as an entrepreneur you have to be very agile. You have to make a lot of decisions, not only financial decisions, HR decisions, product decisions, marketing decisions, client procurement, all of that. And you are not naturally good at everything, but you have to adapt. And there were some mistakes I made, and that made me very reflective. And things didn't work out. So that's when I started to ask more questions, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it really what I should do? Because at the time I was still figuring out, other friends of mine, lawyers who were already in law firms, getting promoted and all of this. So at that time I started to reflect a lot on the self. And that time I think spirituality really helped me, because when you are in the problem, you don't see the problem, but if you zoom out, you detach. That's when you start to see, okay, what I'm thinking is like, I'm making a mountain out of molehill. I don't need to take myself so seriously, or of course I need to be very responsible, but at the same time take things lightly. I think that is also what is needed. Laugh a little bit and figure things out. with other people around you. Don't feel that you are responsible for everything. Some of my friends used to say, oh, you are carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders to solve all the problems. No.
Yeah, it's a very interesting state of things in Hague, because everything is very governmental in this city and very serious people. From train to here, I've seen many people in suits, and I really like to think that, like, a few years ago I read Homo Ludens by Huizinga, that sometimes he says that in the time we said some people wanted to become lawyers, some people wanted to become judges, and in the beginning it was all constructed, then we decided to structure these things, and then in time, hundreds of years later, we forget that it was a play sometimes. And when you said don't take yourself very serious, that it is like clicked a little bit to think that okay, it's okay to be a little bit joyful in the times.
I think it's not only okay, it is absolutely needed.
Okay, great.
We need that energy. We need that, spark that people feel when they see you.
Yeah. So currently you are doing these things, and is there something that you are trying to learn more than the other things? Let's say, I ask these questions because let's say maybe we watch this video in 10 years, and then it would be, this was what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I think well-being is important. I see well-being in terms of always constant growth as well. And as I go forward, I see more and more things connecting. If I read something, even for politics, it would relate to my work. If I'm reading something for art, it will give me more idea for my entrepreneurial venture. If I meet someone in one capacity, they will start to be more relevant for another capacity. My networks have also grown in a way where, it's not just one profession or one kind of people, but thankfully with the, grace of how things have happened, I have a lot of artists who are friends, I have a lot of technologists who are friends, policymakers, athletes. So it's just a very great, diversity, and I enjoy that because things are more connected than we realize as well. Now things are more interdisciplinary in nature. The center that I mentioned, law, design and AI, again there's three very different things. Law and design, law and tech, the areas where I'm also bringing funding and hoping to help startups. I think startups also enjoy the fact that there is a lot of different network that I can support them with. My understanding of the world is also more broad, I hope. But that is what I want to create. Ultimately, what we also believe, whatever is inside is what is outside. So if you have a lot of knowledge of outside, hopefully you get better insights about yourself. Or if you know yourself really well, then you know outside also more. And I think that is an area where I want to grow, to be a little more, mindful of inside and outside both.
Yeah, I see. This comes to our last two questions. We've started already talking about this. Is there something that you are building today in the future, that your projections, and maybe about the funding or something that what solve, like you are doing already great things, that in general, what are you building for your future self?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the opportunity of law, technology and design, I have to say. I wowould really hope to fund some companies, organizations, support people who are working in this area. So that is what I would love to see happen 10 years down the line at scale. I would also love to see, better laws written, better communication around it through technology, also prevention of a lot of disputes. So fundamentally, the B2C side of law and justice, not only commercialized in an ethical way, but also helping a lot of people at scale across geographies, is something that I'd love to do. Really creating models, how we see in fintech, how we see in other areas, also for law.
Is there a way for people to find you on the internet?
Yes, of course. I'm not very active, but I'm generally active on LinkedIn. I also, so that is the best place. Twitter/X is one. I'm also on Facebook, but I don't use it much. So I think LinkedIn is the best way. My website is also kanandhru.com.
We will put them in the description.
Yes, of course.
So my last question, you had a very clear answer for this in the beginning, but I'm looking for other than law. So when you were a child, was there you had a go-to career and decision that you wanted to be when you grew up, other than lawmaking?
I wanted to be a tennis player for a very long time also. Yes, because I think sports teach you so much they make you a very healthy competitor also. So I think losing comes very naturally when you play a lot of sports. I wish I had done that a little more, but I continue to play tennis whenever I get an opportunity. I should do more. But yeah, so that is something that I would have. Now I've started taking up painting also seriously as a hobby. So yeah, hopefully another avatar, and my comic book on law for kids that I develop, that also keeps me active with artist community, and I keep understanding art. So I actually enjoy that. And I think in Europe and in the Netherlands there are a lot of nice museums and galleries, so there is a lot to explore. So that is another side
Yay!
that
great.
I try to explore
I didn't
too.
know that you wanted to become tennis player.
Yes!
Thank you for sharing this. Thank you. It was the second episode of Bubbles. So thank you for taking your time to explain all of this with us today. Thank you.
Of course, thank you for the great work that you do. It's important that you give platforms to people like us. It's much appreciated, and good luck with your future endeavors as well.
Thank you. Have a nice.
Bye.